What's going on, you guys? This is New York Adventurer 1994 here, and today is Monday, September 30th, 2024, and we're about to wrap up the month of September, and we're going into October. So, in order to wrap up September 2024, I have an exciting, I'm making this an exciting video for you guys. So, the wonderful news is that the Mets have officially clinched the 2024 playoffs. For the first time since 2022, the Mets have officially clinched the 2024 playoffs. After winning the first game against the Atlanta Braves today. Because today was a doubleheader and we had to make up those two games because of the hurricane that hit the southeast, and there's still a bunch of people who are going through a bunch of headaches right now with this storm. There's people without power, and there are places that are still flooded. There's like millions of people still without power, so they're still going through the headaches like right now. So the Mets had to make up two games in Atlanta. The hurricane was the reason why they had to play a doubleheader the day after the season ended for 2024. Everyone else was done since Sunday, but the Mets and the Braves weren't, so they had to play. The two games the day after the season ended, the regular season of MLB. And the Mets were able to win that first game against the Braves, and they made the postseason. And they got themselves a wild card, just like in 2016 and 2022. Yeah, that was actually a nerve-wracking game to watch today. The Mets were trailing 3-0 to the Braves in the beginning, and then the Mets climbed up to 6 runs, and then the Braves came back and made it 7-6 Braves, and then the Mets stepped in at the 9th inning and they beat them 8-7, and that's how the Mets made the wild card. And the best thing is that the Mets returned to the playoffs after only 2 years. That's exciting. The Mets returned after only 2 years, after being absent from the playoffs last year in 2023. They made the playoffs after only 2 years, instead of facing another 10-year drought or another 6-year drought. Yeah, between 2006 and 2015, the Mets did not make it for like 9 years. We had to wait that long for them to make the playoffs again during that time. And between 2016 and 2022, we had to wait 6 years. But thankfully, with this one, we only had to wait 2 years for the Mets to come back. I was really nervous about this game today, the doubleheader. I was really nervous. I was hoping we didn't go into another situation like we did in 2008, where the Mets almost made it and then they blew their chances with that one loss against the Miami Marlins. That was absolutely frustrating in 2008 when the Phillies stole our playoff spot, and the Phillies ended up making the playoffs and we didn't, and then the Phillies made a run for the World Series that year and won it in 2008. I will never forget that nightmare in 2008. It was nerve-wracking watching the Mets that year. Yeah, today I felt the 2008 vibes where the Mets blew the playoffs by 1 game. After having a near-perfect season in 2008. And having a lot of amazing finishes, it only took that 1 game for the Mets to miss the playoffs and make us wait 7 more years. It was absolutely outrageous. We were at war against the Phillies for a playoff spot in the National League East, and the Phillies took it from us with us losing to the Miami Marlins. That's how nerve-wracking it was. Yeah, we almost had it. That one game could have made a difference. Winning that one game. Yeah, today I was fearing that we were going to have another situation like in 2008 because the Diamondbacks and the Braves were one step ahead of us. Were one step behind us. Thankfully, both New York teams are back in the playoffs after 2 years. This is the first year both New York teams are back in the playoffs after only 2 years. Both New York teams are back in the playoffs after only 2 years. Both teams made it in 2022, and they were both absent in 2023, just like how 2014 ended. And now they're back in the playoffs, both of them. Both the Yankees and the Mets both returned to the playoffs in 2024 after being absent in 2023 because both teams had a dreadful season that year. It's great to see both New York teams back in the playoffs after going through a bunch of headaches in 2023 and not making the playoffs. Just like how both teams did in 2014 where they both missed the playoffs. Thankfully the nightmare's over and I can't wait to start this playoff series. And the Mets will be facing the Milwaukee Brewers. And we'll see who the Yankees face. It is unknown whether they'll face the Royals or the Orioles. We'll see who the Yankees face in the division series in the American League. Whether it's the Orioles or the Royals. We'll see what happens. And we'll take it from there. So yeah, I like to welcome back both New York teams in the playoffs after only 2 years, after 2022, and being absent in 2023. And I will be waiting for the wild card games to start. And the Mets will be taking on the Brewers. And there were a lot of teams that made a comeback this year, like the Detroit Tigers and the Royals. The American League Central was another division that was facing a bunch of headaches. Because there have been times, there have been seasons where only the Twins or the Indians would make the playoffs and everyone else was left out of it because they were so bad. And I'm talking about the Royals, the Tigers, and the White Sox. This was like the White Sox worst season this year. Because they only made 41 wins and 121 losses. And they met the 1962 Mets season, where they only had like 40 wins and 120 losses. So yeah, welcome back New York to the playoffs, and welcome back Detroit and Kansas City. And I guess that's it. And welcome back the Padres also, because they had an absence last year also. So I guess that's it. Bye.